So, how does passion relate to suffering? When we think of passion in our modern context, what do we think of? Love, desire, lust, enthusiasm? Our minds immediately jump to these things. We don't immediately jump to this idea of suffering. And it's not that great of a stretch from love to suffering, from desire to agony, from lust to jealousy, from enthusiasm to anger. These are the things of suffering. We suffer emotionally and physically for those things we desire. An athlete pushing her body past its limits in order to achieve that next level, working through the pain. A father laying on top of his child to hold them still while the child gets an injection of medicine they desperately need to fight a disease. Compassion for helping people in need becomes anger at those who do not see the world through the same lens. Now, we're going through this series on suffering very deliberately. We're examining just what it is that Jesus went through on our behalf as reported in the book of Luke. And maybe you're not there with us yet. Maybe you're not convinced that Jesus did this for us at all. Maybe all you've known about Jesus is in what you've seen on picket signs on the news. Jesus doesn't exist on a picket sign. He lives in us because he died for us. And what we are doing as his disciples is tearing down the prejudices about who we think Jesus is, and we are relearning who Jesus is and what that means about us as his followers and his church. It's not hard to find groups of people who call themselves Christians and then look at the way they engage the world to determine that they are doing a poor job of being Christ's disciples in love. What is hard is to avoid being caught up in that. And it's hard to avoid taking the word of someone else about what we should believe and what Christianity looks like. It's easy to just go with the crowd, and you'll see someone who gives his life to Jesus only to then look around and say, okay, I'm a Christian. What do Christians do? And he finds a church, and he sees how the Christians act, and he hears how they speak, and he votes how they vote. But that's not being a disciple of Jesus. That's being a disciple of a crowd. And so we avoid the cultural influences of churchianity, and we run towards Jesus himself, who is the head of the church. And that is what we do.